Good afternoon. Welcome to the 2021 NICE Symposium, a coordinated approach to supply chain risk. My name is Brian Fonseca. I serve as the director of the Jack D. Gordon Institute for Public Policy at the Green School of International Public Affairs at Florida International University. I also serve as the executive director of cybersecurity at FIU. Today, I will serve as your MC for the symposium. Over the course of the day, we'll be hearing from leading experts from government, industry, and academia about how building the next generation of cybersecurity professionals is critical in our ability to build resilience against cybersecurity attacks against our nation's supply chain. Before we get to the program, I have some housekeeping notes that I have been told I must raise at the onset of today's convening. So next slide. We are honored to have our partners from across Latin America and the Caribbean joining us for this important discussion. These risks not only impact the US, but also our partners and allies around the world. And to that point, we've worked hard to integrate our partners from around the world into our annual symposium and provide the opportunity to share knowledge across borders. That being said, we'll be having simultaneous translations in English and Spanish through the interpretation tab at the bottom of your Zoom screen. You will also see a Q&A tab at the bottom of the Zoom screen. This is where you will get the opportunity to ask questions directly to our speakers throughout this afternoon's sessions. We'll do our best to get as many of those questions answered as possible. Next slide. I also want to encourage you, you all to at the conference as presenters of the 2022 NICE Conference and Expo on June 6th through 8, 2022 in Atlanta. So again, we'll be back with this annual conference series in person in Atlanta from June 6th through 8, 2022. The call for proposals is open until January 16th, 2022. And so I encourage you to visit niceconference.org for further information. Next slide. Finally, I want to invite you to track today's symposium through our social media channels on the screen by using hashtag NICE Symposium. Feel free to screen grab, like, and retweet as much as you can that's entertaining for you and that you think is important to share throughout your respective networks. Part of the spirit of our convening is to spread the word and improve and enhance the knowledge of the user community, again, across our respective constituents. Next slide. So without further ado, I want to turn the floor over to for a message from the 5th president of Florida International University, Dr. Mark B. Rosenberg. Dr. Rosenberg wishes he was able to join us today in person or live rather, but was unable to, and so he recorded a brief message to welcome you all to today's symposium.
Good afternoon from our FIU in Miami. And I am pleased to be speaking with you this afternoon because you are a community of change makers. You're flexible thinkers. You're motivated to help keep our community and our nation and our world safe. And I'm excited to be joined today by phenomenal practitioners from US government, industry, and academia to discuss solutions. We want to recognize Kevin Gallagher, Special Advisor to the Secretary of Commerce, Gina Raimondo. He will be delivering today's keynote address. And we applaud Commerce's work in engaging private sector leaders to improve the nation's cybersecurity and foster stronger collaboration between the public and private sectors. We also want to recognize the first U.S. National Cyber Director, Chris Inglis, for joining us this afternoon. I know that he and his team are hard at work leading the new office of the National Cyber Director and overseeing the development of the U.S. Digital Defense Strategy. Joining us this afternoon also is the Director of the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, Jen Easterly. She and her team are working to build trust and transparency through information sharing with companies that are impacted by cyber attacks. These efforts are going to go a long way toward building a more secure digital infrastructure. And finally, we want to recognize the NICE team led by Rodney Petersen for entrusting FIU with leading this crucial initiative. And we want to thank each of you for coming together at this conference to learn from each other and build a better, more secure world together. Since we met last year, adversaries of democracy and cyber criminals have targeted the U.S. and its partners at an alarming pace. Earlier this year, the Colonial Pipeline ransomware attack showed us the far-ranging impacts of cybersecurity attack. From shipping delays to long lines at gas stations, we felt the impact in real time. It made governments and the private sector re-examine supply chain vulnerabilities and the real-world impacts that disruption can cause. At FIU, we take pride in providing real solutions through our work, through our research. And as a university, we do have a responsibility to educate the next generation. Fortunately, at the NICE Conference, we have the talent to stand up to the challenges. And we hope to continue growing this conference and continue to serve as a solution center for enhancing cybersecurity education, training, and workforce development. You are experts from government, from industry, from academia, who are committed to building our country's resiliency against cyber criminals. And this is already happening, as evidenced by the recent announcement by the U.S. Department of Justice targeting the cybersecurity criminal group REvil. The United States and our partners around the world recognize the importance of taking decisive action against all those who seek to take advantage of us. While we take care of the immediate threat, we must also look ahead. We must also help educate the next generation of cybersecurity professionals with the skills necessary to protect our systems, anticipate the next attack, and stay one step ahead of our enemies. Here at FIU, we have one of the nation's only degrees in the Internet of Things with an emphasis on security. And we're doing other cutting-edge work in our Knight Foundation School of Computing and Information Sciences. Last year, we launched the Veterans Training Initiative as part of a larger consortium of universities. This program provides training opportunities to transitioning military personnel, to veterans, and to first responders who are interested in moving into the cybersecurity field. These kinds of reskilling programs bring awareness to cybersecurity as a career option and identify a new pool of cybersecurity professionals. Again, we want to thank you for your work, for being leaders in your field, and for taking an interest in educating the next generation of cybersecurity experts. We hope you enjoy this afternoon's symposium, and we invite you to visit our FIU in Miami anytime to meet our talented and hardworking students, to understand our solution center mindset, and to collaborate with us. We thrive on partnerships at our FIU. Thank you for being with us.
I want to thank Dr. Rosenberg for providing those words. He's been instrumental in the progression of our program and our partnership with NICE and others to expand FIU's opportunity to, to support and bolster the national cybersecurity workforce. I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize the support that our partner New America has played in helping FIU lead the NICE conference since 2018. And I'll seize the opportunity to give a shout out to Mike Preble at New America for his support over the years in bringing New America into our planning and programming for this series. To that end, we're excited to have a message from New America's Chief Executive Officer, Dr. Anne-Marie Slaughter.
Welcome to the NICE Symposium on a coordinated approach to supply chain risks. I'm Anne-Marie Slaughter. I'm the CEO of New America. New America partners with Florida International University and the National Initiative on Cybersecurity Education to produce their annual conference and also to support their advocacy for a cybersecurity workforce. Cybersecurity is increasingly just security. As we inhabit the physical and the digital world almost interchangeably day by day, cybersecurity is national security. It's the kind of work that the Defense Department and all the other parts of the federal government that are focused on national security work on, but also, of course, states who have to worry about their security, and many, many cities, large and small, around the country. They all work on cybersecurity. But equally, it's security for companies. Just as you might think about having security guards, both the kind who protect the property, but also people who make sure of the security of people who work in companies, those are now part of the cybersecurity workforce. That's true for big companies. If you think about the North Korean attack on Sony and many other hacks, but it's also true for small institutions like New America. We have only 200 people, but we need cybersecurity training. We need people in our workforce who are constantly aware of how to update protections against various kinds of cybersecurity attacks. So whether you are thinking about government-inspired attacks on everything from voting infrastructure to many other areas of our security, or you might be thinking of global crime, where you have actors holding cities and corporations and other institutions up for ransom. All of that is cybersecurity, but so too is a whole set of areas that we think of maybe in terms of just guaranteeing good cybersecurity hygiene or security for all of us who are online. The other thing that is so important when we think about the cybersecurity workforce is to think about the kinds of issues that workforce has to address. Now, again, we might think about ransomware and direct attacks, and that's probably what most people think of when they read the newspaper about various hacks and attacks. But supply chains are equally important. During the pandemic, many of us have paid far more attention to supply chains. The early part of the pandemic, we thought about how are we going to have a secure supply of personal protective equipment and the other things that we needed to keep people safe as we battled the COVID-19 pandemic. A lot of those issues now, as we think about onshoring supply chains that used to be offshored, but equally, how do we keep those supply chains secure? How do we make sure that people don't attack them in ways that disrupt them or even destroy them? A lot of that work involves keeping our software secure, but there is also a whole body of supply chain work that goes to the hardware, that really goes to the security of that hardware, the chips that go into everything from munitions to vehicles to power grids. So as we think about a coordinated approach to supply chain security or to addressing supply chain risks, we've got to focus on the work to be done with software, but also there is work to be done with hardware. And here again, at every level, we need trained and expert cybersecurity workers. The last thing that I want to say is that we have a growing number of tools available to develop new cyber talent. So the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA, has recently granted $2 million to support cybersecurity apprenticeships. This is very important. New America does a lot of work on apprenticeships, and we find that across the country, when you say apprenticeship, most people think of the building trades. They think about apprenticing to be a carpenter or a plumber, but you can apprentice to be an insurance adjuster, a personal medical assistant, or a cybersecurity worker. So cybersecurity apprenticeships are a growing area and a very important tool for developing the cybersecurity workforce. It's also important that the Build Back Better Act, which may be law by the time the symposium is taking place, has allocated $100 million for CISA to support cybersecurity awareness training and workforce development. So those funds can be spent through community colleges and other partnerships to provide hiring flexibilities, but also to support growing our own talent. Again, through apprenticeships, community colleges, and scholarship for service. In short, this symposium is addressing critical areas for the nation's security at every level, but also for ensuring that we have really good jobs in a key area for this entire century. It's timely and important, and I know you're going to have a terrific experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. Now we're excited to turn to someone who needs no introduction to this audience. He and his team, including Susie, Danielle, Miriam, have been a great partner to FIU and have worked very closely with us in pulling together our program and driving action around cybersecurity education, training, and workforce development. He is the director of the National Initiative for Cyber Education, Mr. Rodney Petersen. Rodney, I cede the floor to you.
Thank you, Brian, and thanks to President Rosenberg and New America CEO Anne-Marie Schlatter for your welcome and opening remarks. From this point forward in the symposium today, it is live, it's not Memorex. For those of you that don't remember that line, you might have to Google it and look it up. But I am the third and final welcome to the NICE Symposium today on behalf of the three partners that put on the annual NICE Conference. I'd also like to just say at the outset how proud I am that NICE is a program led by the National Institute of Standards and Technology and the U.S. Department of Commerce. So I hope you find that today's theme that you've heard about, the coordinated approach to supply chain risk, to be both timely and thoughtful treatment of cybersecurity risk, especially as we unravel how to mitigate the risk to our supply chain with a knowledgeable and skilled workforce. Next slide, please. Before I continue my remarks today, I do want to take a moment to honor a member of our community who has been faithfully devoted for over 4 decades to our shared vision to prepare, grow, and sustain a cybersecurity workforce that safeguards and promotes America's national security and economic prosperity. Many of you knew Alan Paller as the founder of the cybersecurity training organization SANS. He began that organization in 1989. We were very saddened to learn about his untimely death last week. As I often talk about the NICE vision and mission to promote a robust community working together to build an integrated ecosystem, I'm pleased to say that Alan and the entire staff of SANS and GIAC, the Global Information Assurance Certification Provider, have been active contributors to the work we are doing together as a community. In fact, when Alan stepped down in March as the head of SANS, he became the president of the National Cyber Scholarship Foundation, which is seeking to recruit and support cybersecurity talent in high schools, community colleges who come from diverse backgrounds through a gaming and other innovative development programs. So you can learn more about Alan's legacy in a memorial scholarship fund set up in his honor at nationalcyberscholarship.org. So I just wanted to take a moment to honor Alan and say a note of condolences, as well as thank you for the support for all of our family, our community at SANS and GIAC. Next slide. So it was about a year ago when I stood before you at the virtual NICE conference, again at that time, and shared with you the new NICE strategic plan. We're required to update and submit to Congress a new plan every 5 years. And after a year-long process of community engagement, I was pleased to share with you our vision, mission, and the 5 new goals and corresponding objectives just 1 year ago. And this past year, we've been working with the NICE Community Coordinating Council and its working groups to develop an implementation plan for each of the goals that contains more details with additional strategies, tactics, success measures for each of the objectives. So we encourage the entire NICE community to continue to rally around these goals and do your part to help us make progress towards realizing our vision and mission. I just want to quickly summarize the 5 goals and update you on what's currently in progress. The first goal is to promote the discovery of cybersecurity careers in multiple pathways. We recently concluded our 5th annual Cybersecurity Career Awareness Week, and this year it was held as part of Cybersecurity Awareness Month in October. The Promote Career Discovery Working Group will also be focused over the next several months on the strategic plan objective to increase the understanding of multiple learning pathways and credentials that lead to careers in cybersecurity. Next, it shouldn't be surprising that an organization such as NICE that's focused on cybersecurity education and training is always looking for ways to improve the learning process, which is why our second goal is to transform learning to build and sustain a diverse and skilled workforce. Among the priorities for this next year is an emphasis on multidisciplinary approaches that integrate cybersecurity across varied curricula. That also reinforces the variety of roles and types of careers that are available in cybersecurity. Additionally, we live in a credential economy, so we'll be examining ways to improve the quality, availability, and transparency of credentials that validate competencies. Third, we also recognize that the recruitment and hiring practices of the past no longer work in the context of a digital economy where both technology and the competencies needed change rapidly. Perhaps later today, you'll hear from our CISA colleagues about the new cybersecurity talent management system that they unveiled this week. So accordingly, we're looking for ways that the public and private sectors can modernize talent management process to address cybersecurity skills gaps as our third goal. One area that's going to require special attention is the need to increase entry-level hiring and re-examine career entry opportunities as we seek to bring people into cybersecurity roles from diverse learning pathways as well as different backgrounds. NICE is probably best known for our Workforce Framework for Cybersecurity, or NICE Framework. Last year, we announced a revision to the 2017 publication, and during the past year, we've continued to work to align the NICE Framework with NIST cybersecurity guidance, review the NICE Framework task, knowledge, and skill statements, and develop new tools to increase access and facilitate interoperability. So it should be no surprise that our fourth goal in the strategic plan focuses on expanding use of the NICE framework, and not just by employers, but by education and training providers. And additionally, we want to make sure the NICE framework is meaningful to learners. And for us, learners include students, job seekers, and employees, which is why it supports all of our earlier goals, especially the one to promote cybersecurity career discovery. I was really pleased this past year when the National Science Foundation program's CyberCore Scholarship for Service job fairs used the NICE framework work roles as a way to both increase student awareness of the NICE framework and also to help employers to make sure their jobs were aligned to the NICE framework to increase fit between those job seekers and employers. And finally, there is little denying that the topic of cybersecurity workforce has gained increased attention and interest from the Congress, the administration, as well as leaders in academia and the private sector. With us later today will be Chris Inglis, who was testifying this morning in Congress. And by my count, he was asked at least 8 questions about cybersecurity workforce during the course of his testimony or the CISA testimony. So while we're busy developing and implementing programs, projects, or initiatives, or responding to questions, we must also ensure that what we are doing is effective and scalable. In other words, NICE wants to drive research and effective practices for cybersecurity workforce development, which is our 5th and final goal. So you'll continue to hear us ask questions and encourage investigation that draw from the values of our NICE strategic plan to act based on evidence, to evaluate and improve, to challenge assumptions, and also to stimulate innovation. Next slide. So speaking of Congress, since we met last year, the Congress has been actively working to support all of our federal departments and agencies, and indirectly, those of you in academia and industry, through a variety of new programs, initiatives, and appropriations that support our mission. In 2014, the Cybersecurity Enhancement Act set forth the parameters for a national cybersecurity awareness and education program led by NIST in cooperation with government, industry, and academia. And as you see in the slide, it specifically charged NIST to increase public awareness of cybersecurity, cyber safety, and cyber ethics, also to support formal cybersecurity education programs at all levels, and finally, to promote initiatives to evaluate and forecast future cybersecurity workforce needs. Next slide. Beginning in January 2021, the NICE strategic plan was not only issued, but the National Defense Authorization Act added additional authorities specifically for NICE that included facilitate federal programs to advance cybersecurity education, training, and workforce development, focus on cybersecurity workforce needs of the critical infrastructure, including cyber physical systems and control systems, and finally, to advise the Office of Management and Budget on the metrics used to measure the effectiveness of those programs and initiatives. Additionally, the NIST Act was amended to reinforce NICE's role to identify and develop standards and guidelines for improving the cybersecurity workforce, which is embodied in the NICE framework. And then finally, to publish standards and guidelines to improve the cybersecurity awareness of employees and contractors of federal agencies. So we believe that these authorities continue to position NICE as a community leader, both within the government and the private sector, as we continue to coordinate that robust community working together. It also, again, reinforces the importance of embracing those NICE strategic plan values to foster communication, facilitate collaboration, and share and leverage resources. Next slide, please. As part of our congressional mandate to evaluate and forecast future cybersecurity workforce needs, NICE is pleased to partner with CompTIA and MZ Burning Glass on the ongoing development and updates to CyberSeek. Today, I'm pleased to announce some new updates and enhancements to CyberSeek. New CyberSeek data reveals a significant increase in online job listings for cybersecurity-related positions for the past 12 months, with the latest data indicating almost 600,000 open jobs. That is nearly a 30% increase in just 1 year and emphasizes the urgency of our collective work. At the same time, the total number of individuals employed in the cybersecurity workforce increased to over 1 million, which is a 10% increase. So while the cybersecurity workforce continues to grow, the increase in demand grows at an even greater rate. I also want to let you know there's some additional new features you'll find in CyberSeek, including the introduction of an education and training map that lists more than 1,000 academic institutions and training providers that are helping learners acquire knowledge and skills in cybersecurity. The list of providers is searchable by geography, organization, type of credential offered, ranging from associate, bachelor, graduate degrees to industry recognized certifications. So to learn more about the latest updates to CyberSeek, we're pleased to invite you to attend our next Community Coordinating Council meeting on December 1st, where we'll go into more details about the changes and take your questions. Next slide, please. So finally, in addition to the strategic plan emphasis on the NICE framework that I talked about earlier, many of you know that beginning in 2019, we announced that we were undertaking a 2-year review of the NICE framework that included the revision to the core publication that was announced at last year's NICE conference. And this past year, we've been conducting a variety of other reviews and engagements that are quite frankly impossible to describe in detail here today in the context of this half-day symposium. So we invite you to join us for our next NICE webinar series in December, where you'll learn more about those updates, as well as hear from community members who are applying and using the NICE framework in a variety of ways. So in closing, as I said at the beginning, I'm not only proud to serve as the NICE director and work alongside many of you in the pursuit of a common vision and mission, I'm very pleased to be part of NIST and the U.S. Department of Commerce and to welcome some of my colleagues who you'll hear from in a moment today, as well as other partners in the White House and the Department of Homeland Security, Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, or CISA. We also recognize the importance of all of our partnerships with academia and the private sector, and trust you'll benefit from hearing from those perspectives during the afternoon panel discussions. So thank you for your attendance And I am looking forward to the rest of today's program. So Brian, as I turn it back to you, I just also, again, want to thank you, Florida International University, as well as New America, for the partnership with NICE in delivering today's symposium and the annual NICE Conference and Expo.
Thank you, Rodney, for your leadership and your commitment to strengthening our nation's resilience against the surging cybersecurity threat landscape. So we're grateful to have this partnership and all the amazing work that you and your team have done, again, to strengthen our position.